Welcome to Audit Archive. Today, we're looking at a case where what seemed like a routine traffic stop soon turned into a violent escalation by the cops, resulting in a shocking outcome. On March 14, 2023, 30-year-old Nacher Jones was driving near Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida, when officers from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office pulled Mr. Jones over for having dark window tints, expired registration, and expired tags. Mr. Jones alleged that he was pulled over earlier that night, but was not found to have violated any traffic regulations whatsoever.
Florida tag off, India Fox Drive, Charlie 67, and on Black Dodge Charger. I know occupants.
How you doing?
You just already stopped me, sir.
What was that?
You already talked to me tonight, sir.
Who did?
I was on that street over there. You the same officer.
Regardless, Mr. Jones complied with the officer and provided him with all the documentation requested.
Do you have your ID with you?
After the officer verified Mr. Jones's information, he asked Mr. Jones to roll both windows up halfway so he could use a tint meter to make sure the tints were not too dark.
You go and roll down this back window?
Ain't nothing but some car seats back there, sir.
Yeah, you can go.
My baby car seats back there.
That's fine. Go and roll down your back window.
That's crazy.
As the tint meter readings suggest, Mr. Jones' tints were in compliance with Florida law, which states that cars and larger vehicles, like SUVs and vans, have different limits regarding window tint on the side and rear windows. For cars, the front side windows must let in at least 28% of visible light. The rear side windows and the rear windshield each must let in at least 15% of visible light. Mr. Jones' front and rear side windows gave readings of 33 and 17, which meant that they allowed 33% and 17% of visible light respectively. Therefore, the officer informed Mr. Jones that his tints were all good, but his license plate had expired back in February 2023.
So you're good on tint. The only problem is your license plate expired back in February of 23.
The officers then asked Mr. Jones if there was anything dangerous in the car and immediately began escalating the situation by asking Mr. Jones if he could step out so they could search the car.
Your tint is fine, but your tag's bad and it's expired. So that's where we're at right now. So my question to you right now is, do you have anything dangerous or illegal in this vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay.
But,
You mind if we go ahead and get you out of here after we search your vehicle?
no, sir. You can't search my vehicle.
That's
I haven't
fine.
done anything to do
That's
it.
fine. Just stand by.
Mr. Jones immediately refused to give consent to a search and was rightfully confused as to why he needed to step out of his vehicle in the first place. At this point, the officers had no lawful justification to search Mr. Jones's vehicle, and it would be outrageous to assume they had a reasonable, articulable suspicion to do so either. Under Florida law, an officer may stop a motor vehicle based on observations indicating a problem with the car's driver. However, it is also to be noted that a stop is permitted even without a traffic violation, so long as the stop is supported by a reasonable suspicion of impairment, unfitness, or vehicle defects. Therefore, it could be said that the officers rightfully pulled Mr. Jones over. But it's clear that they did not have enough evidence to suspect Mr. Jones of carrying something illegal, which would give them a reason to search him or his car. After Mr. Jones did not give consent to a search, the officer returned to his patrol vehicle to issue the tickets for the traffic violations. As the officer ran his identification through the system, he found out that Mr. Jones's license was also suspended. To this, the officer went back up to Mr. Jones's vehicle and informed him about his suspended license.
Hey, are you aware that your license is suspended?
No, sir. No,
You're
sir.
not? Okay. It looks like
Hell,
it looks like it's been suspended since December of 2023. Or I'm sorry, December of 2022.
that can't be because I haven't had them that long.
Well, I'm letting you know it is. It's expired since then.
The officer also requested Mr. Jones's proof of insurance.
Do you have insurance, proof of insurance on the vehicle?
All of that should be in the document that I handed you.
Amidst this, a K-9 officer arrived on the scene and told his fellow officer to ask Mr. Jones to step out so they could talk to him about the K-9 search.
Alright, buddy. Hey, you go and step out of the vehicle for me?
Why?
Because I'm asking you to step out of the vehicle, and per case on the state of Florida, when I ask you to, you can step out. No, I'm asking you to.
Yeah, so sir, we're requesting you to
So,
step out of the vehicle so
that's
I can
completely
talk to you
legal.
about the dog and everything, all right?
Why y'all brought the dog? This is not some type of
Sir,
stuff.
you have to step out now, or you go to jail, brother. Those are your options.
Yeah, but
I gotta go to jail if I know.
No,
if you don't
step out of the car,
step
you will
out.
go to jail tonight. That's a promise.
After a short confrontation between Mr. Jones and both the officers, Mr. Jones hesitantly stepped out of his car and agreed to speak with the officers.
You can keep the FaceTime going, bro. You just gotta step out so we can talk to you, homie.
The K-9 officer then told Mr. Jones that he had two options. The first option was to let the officers simply search his car, and the second option was that a narcotics K-9 would sniff around the car to signal whether there was anything suspicious in the car or not.
Option one is we can check your car and get you out of here as fast as we can. Option two is we take the dog around the exterior of the vehicle, and then we'll decide if we have probable cause after that.
Mr. Jones eventually went for option number 2 and was asked to step away from the vehicle while the narcotics K-9 circled the car.
So we'll walk over there to the trash can, so we're out of the way.
Amidst this, Mr. Jones's aunt showed up on the scene and was also asked to remain at a distance from the car. Referring to Florida law, it is clear that despite pulling someone over with reasonable cause, there is no justification for searching them or their vehicle simply based on the traffic violation. It's said that even if police officers demonstrate reasonable cause in pulling you over, they do not automatically have the right to search your vehicle. Soon after the narcotics K-9 was deployed to sniff the car, the K-9 officer told Mr. Jones that the dog had very strongly alerted him of something suspicious in the car.
Alright, homie. I don't know what you got in that car, bro, but it's strong.
That's what's strong in my car.
Well, have a seat right there, dude. At this point in time, you are detained. You are not free to leave.
I'm
Until we
detained?
figure out what's in your car.
Now I'm detained, mommy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was a K-9 officer came out here, and the
Bro,
K-9
it took me
officer
longer to
indicated.
get my dog.
Mr. Jones denied any accusations and told the officers that there was nothing in there. Under Florida law, police can use drug dogs to sniff vehicles during routine stops, and if dogs alert officers to the presence of illicit substances, reasonable cause exists for searching the vehicle. Therefore, at this point, the officers have lawful reasonable cause for searching the vehicle, but it could be argued that the officers reached this conclusion through the use of unlawful tactics.
There's enough of us out here working.
Yeah, scale of residue.
After searching a bag found in the car, the officers found a scale with residue on it, thus giving them probable cause to search Mr. Jones thoroughly. The officers searched Mr. Jones extensively and suspected that he was hiding something in his pants, so they ordered him to place his hands behind his back in order to place him in handcuffs.
All right, buddy, turn around for me.
You just patted me down.
Well, I patted you down. I didn't search you. Now I'm searching. Do you have something in there?
No.
Nothing?
Even in my pants.
I feel like you got something in the front. Buddy.
Mr. Jones, who was clearly unhappy with how he was being treated, retaliated and questioned the officers.
Yeah, buddy, there's.
Put your hand behind your back.
Yeah, there's.
Put your feet.
Buddy.
Tension, relax.
Stop.
Bro, you're about to get jumped in your
Stop,
face.
or I'm gonna put you on the ground. Stop, or I'm gonna put you on the ground. Stop, or I'm gonna put you on the ground.
You're gonna get... Get on the ground. Stop! Distance!
As the scuffle went on, Mr. Jones was violently punched in the face twice while in a headlock, cutting off circulation to his head and neck, and then tased before being thrown to the ground. The officers then continued to assault Mr. Jones even while he was on the ground, taking shots at his face multiple times. Another really troubling part of this incident was that one of the officers alleged that Mr. Jones had a gun, which was entirely false, as no weapons were recovered from the scene at all. What's worse is that the officers had already conducted a pat-down and a thorough search beforehand, but did not locate a firearm on Mr. Jones.
You got a gun! Get the gun! Get hard!
I don't got no gun. What y'all talking about a gun?
Hands behind your back and get tased. Put your hands behind your back and get tased.
Get on the fucking ground!
So accusing Mr. Jones of possessing a weapon made no sense here. Eventually, Mr. Jones was placed in a patrol car after being searched again for over 15 minutes. The officers failed to find evidence of drugs or anything deemed illegal under Florida law. The inhumanity of the cops, regardless of what potential crimes Mr. Jones may have committed, is inexcusable. Local media outlet News 4 Jax reported that Mr. Jones was charged with resisting and the possession of cocaine and drug paraphernalia. They also stated that he was cited for unknowingly driving on a suspended license and operating a vehicle with an expired tag. He's been since released from jail on bond. James Brown, a former officer at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, reviewed footage from the incident and said that it's very dangerous because you got an individual's head, the carotid artery, the neck. There are a lot of things that can go wrong, especially with the head being locked to the individual's body weight and then delivering punches. He also said that if you have multiple officers going after one individual, you can easily get confused in the struggle to where you're working against yourselves. One day after the incident, on March 15, 2023, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office released a statement that concluded the officers involved did not violate Florida law or Jacksonville Sheriff's Office policy by their actions. Mr. Jones's booking photo shows that he sustained multiple injuries to his face, and his sister told First Coast News that he had to go to the hospital soon after he bonded out because his face was black and swollen. She added that he was unable to move his left arm too. Regardless, it is currently unclear whether Mr. Jones will fight the charges and file a lawsuit against the officers involved. Also, be sure to check out this outrageous police encounter.